Global, co-organized by the Project of Empowering Network for International Thai Studies and the Institute of Thai Studies, Chulalongkorn University, with support from the Thailand Research Fund. At this moment, I would like to invite Associate Professor Dr. Suchitra Jongsathit Wattana, Director, Institute of Thai Studies, Chulalongkorn University, to give a welcome address. Please, Dr. Suchitra.
Director of Academic Research Division, Thailand Research Fund, distinguished scholars, colleagues, and friends. On behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to welcome you all to the International Conference Thailand Heritage Local to Floating this morning. The Director of Academic Research Division, Thailand Research Fund, has honored us by presiding here to deliver the opening address. The Thailand Research Fund, whose ultimate aim is to provide and encourage researchers for the development of the country, has been the most generous support of ENITS, or the Empowering Network for International Thai Studies for the Development of Thai Society. This project is a collaboration between the Thailand Research Fund and the Institute of Thai Studies, Chulalongkorn University. One of the main objectives of ENITS is to encourage researchers in Thai studies globally and enhance more opportunities for networking between local researchers and international researchers. The topic of our conference today, Thai Food Heritage, seems to be a perfect and auspicious starting point for this purpose, because in Thai culture, food has always been considered an offering of respect and friendship. The organizing committee also would like to thank all our colleagues here in Thailand and abroad who graciously contribute to this conference. Let us hope that this conference would be a genesis of a healthy cooperation between Thai study researchers who share the wonderful passion for knowledge and wisdom inherent in Thai food. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Suchitra. Now, may I have the honor of Professor Dr. Vishai Dusan, Director of Academic Research Division, Thailand Research Fund, to give an opening address. Please, Dr. Vishai.
Professor Suchitra Jongsathit Wattana, Professor Sunet, Director of Institute of Asian Studies, Professor Yevat Bullon, the former Director of the Thailand Research Fund, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honor for me to be here today to give an opening address to the International Conference on Thai Study, Thai Food Heritage, Local to Global, hosted by the Institute of Thai Study, Chulalongkorn University, and project of Empowering Network for International Thai Study, supported by the Thailand Research Fund. I am also very happy to say that this program has initiated primarily by our former Head of the Thailand Research Fund, Professor Yevat Bullon, 2 years ago. And in May 2007, I had the pleasure of accompanying Professor Suchitra and Professor Prani Kulvanit on a study trip to several universities in the United States. And now I see the progress of their work. This makes me very happy. In the present context of the globalized world, Thai food has become one of the most valuable Thai heritage that is essential to the development of the country and of the region as a whole. Therefore, that researchers and scholars worldwide have dedicated to food research in its country is an evidence of the urgency of the food crisis due to climate change and environmental mismanagement in the global context. Nevertheless, it is obvious that advance in science and technology alone cannot satisfactorily solve this problem. We need a more refined conscience of humane understanding of how to appreciate and sustain food as a cultural heritage for humanity. In this regard, I view the project that the Institute of Thaistudies at Chulalongkorn University works on is very important. Therefore, let's hope that this conference focusing on Thai food heritage will contribute creatively in some way to help solve the food crisis in a more humane manner for the benefit of all. I congratulate you all in advance for the success of this conference, and may I now, on behalf of the Thailand Research Fund, declare this conference open. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mishai. For the first plenary session of the conference, I have the pleasure of introducing two speakers. The first speaker is Professor Dr. Anand Kanchanapan. He is currently a professor of the Department of Anthropology, Faculty of Social Science, Chiang Mai University. As for his educational background, Dr. Anand received a BA in Political Science from Thailand University. He earned an MA in History of Southeast Asia from Cornell University, and he was finally awarded a PhD in Anthropology, also from Cornell University. Professor Dr. Anand Kanchanapan was a visiting fellow at several universities, for example, Macquarie University in Australia, Museum of Ethnology, Osaka, Japan, School of Oriental and African Studies, University of London, and University of Washington, Seattle, in the USA. Professor Dr. Anand Kanchanapan has been involved in various research projects, and he has published widely. For instance, on the politics of ethnicity in Thailand, a response, changing power and position of Mongolian in Northern Thai healing rituals, globalization and dynamics of culture in Thailand, complexity of rights and legal pluralism in participatory watershed development in Thailand, and multiplicity of community forestry as knowledge space in the Northern Thai highlands. Moreover, Dr. Anand has been a committee member of several organizations. Only to name a few: the National Research Council, Center for Sustainable Development, National Culture Commission, Social Science Association, and Regional Center for Community Forest Training. Today, Dr. Anand will give a talk on eating in socio-cultural context. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Dr. Anand.
ladies and gentlemen. I'm quite honored to be invited for speaking today on the topic of eating in social cultural context. Even though this topic is not one of my specialized interests in the past, but it's always a topic at my heart, because whenever as artists traveling, we always have to eat the local people. So today I'm trying to link the two together, the topic of my heart and the thing that I have been studying all along during the past several years. Okay, I think as an artist during the past decades, I have the honor and privilege of traveling to visit my students working in the field in many places of South Asia, and that's where I learned a lot about food eating, and I think we are learning more about food eating in the field, and this is when I talk to some ethnic Thai in Tô in Yunnan. Okay, and I think knowing about local people, you have to, of course, taste their food, in order to learn something about their life. And I just showed you some of my experience traveling, and this is where I also tasting some of Tibetan food in Yunnan. Of course, eating in the field, I think, is a taste of knowledge and identity of the people. And tasting local food is always enjoying, of course. And this is, I think, is a cultural life that you can taste. Even a simple food, this is in the morning, on top of the mountain, 3,000 meters at the top of Mekong watershed, eating just a vegetable soup with rice. It seemed to me very delicious. This is with the Yi people. I also with my wife there too. So today I would like to give some thoughts, on food eating as a kind of situated learning of conflict in local resource management. That is where I usually study, that is resource management. But here I try to link what I have been eating with the topic that I have always studied. Because I think through eating and looking at the food, eating, tasting, it's a kind of fast track to get accustomed to local people and their conflicting social life. And for food, I think it gives us a lot of ideas of how to know their thinking and livelihood, and also help me situate eating in locality and ecology. So I think I have to come back to Thailand now, because the topic today on Thailand. So maybe focusing on the topic of my research in the past several years. So I try to put eating first in the context of ritual for conservation. And here I try to show you the photo of ritual worshipping sacred forest by the Hmong or Northern Thai Highlands. Most people will think of the Hmong as someone who is destroying forests. But in fact, they have this ritual worshipping sacred forest. And eating in the context of rituals is not only about eating, but when you eat there at rituals of conservation, it also helps you thinking what you eat and what you are doing that in the ritual, which is about conservation. So ritual eating in the forest somehow also help us to understand as a consumption of identity. And here I show you the photo of the current ritual of forest ordination. Because this is not something they have done before in the past, but it's a kind of ritual that people now recently organize, to show that they are someone, who in fact trying to protect the forest. And you can see this is a kind of current network. It's not one village, it's a lot of communities that come together, to organize this kind of rituals of worshipping or ordination of the forest. So ritual of eating and worshipping is sometimes, I think, a discourse of forest conservation. Why? Because they are now trying to contest the meaning of forest management. Usually in Thailand, we think of forest management is under the control for Department of Forestry, something like that. But the people trying to also show us that they are also able to manage their forest. So through this kind of ritual, they can at least contest the meaning. Because securing food is very important in the context that in Thailand, we always have some kind of myth about shifting cultivation. And the people of the highland of Thailand, their life depends a lot on shifting cultivation. And here just show you the pictures of the complexity of correct shifting cultivation. It's not easy as we usually see from the idea in the myth, but it's very complex. So complexity of shifting cultivation is very much linked to the politics of misrepresentation of the shifting cultivation. Usually, we are stigmatized the shifting cultivation, looking at them as a kind of scapegoat for forest destruction. So this creates some kind of resource tenure, insecurity, and also marginalizing their knowledge. So, under the context of tenure insecurity, because you might be relocated because the government don't like to practice this kind of shifting cultivation. So the people always try to negotiate for their food security. You can see this kind of stigmatization and the relocation of people as a competition for resources. So the Koreans wonder, about how can they secure their food. What the government tries to introduce instead on the highland is so-called sedentary agriculture. But it's always questions about food security. Because sedentary agriculture, in fact, I look at it as a strategy of civilizing the margin. Why? Because you think of agriculture, sedentary agriculture as a kind of higher or more advanced technology in comparison with shifting cultivation. But we may have to ask, intensive agriculture for whom? Because this is a kind of shifting justification for food security. They think that intensive sedentary agriculture might provide more food security. But we also wonder, it is a food security or in fact it's a kind of territorialization, a term which means trying to take over the territory which used to be under the control of the people on the highland, the highlanders. So we can see this as a kind of threat of monocropping agriculture. We can see this threat as a kind of competing for resources. Because instead of shifting cultivation, you say no to shifting cultivation, but instead what we have is this thing, intensive vegetable farming, monocropping. So as anthropologists, we also wonder, is this a sustainable alternative for whom we don't know either. And on the highland, it's not only vegetable garden, vegetable farming, but we can see all kind of intensive agriculture. In fact, there are kind of resource competition for local commons because this field, as you can see now, is a kind of tea plantation. It's a kind of expansion of agribusiness, and this kind of thing, we start wondering about what kind of development we are getting now. It's a kind of market-driven development, which of course increase market dependence on the local people and create some kind of livelihood insecurity. So I think we have to ask questions about rights to food, and of course, in the context, we can talk in eating for rights, just questions or something that you wonder. And here in this photo, you can see the Korean and their quest for rights in community forest, because that's where they get most of their food. So, rights to food, what we are talking about here is about many things. And here I like to show you that eating rattan shoots for rice in shifting cultivation, because in the shifting field there are many things, many eatable things. And here I just show you the photo of rattan, that people left to be regrowth, regenerate themselves in the shifting field after the harvest. You can see this rattan shoot start coming up, and that is only one among hundreds of varieties of eatable plants in the Korean shifting fields. So this is how they manage their biodiversity and food security. But of course, most outsiders, they don't look close enough to understand what's going on in this. What they see is only shifting cultivation, nothing else. But if you look deeper, there are more to learn about eating and food than we can. Of course, after so many years studying that, I of course starting to understand what's happening over there. And in the community forest, you have many other things, not only that rattan that I show you for example. There are many other kind of plants, and this is another one I like to show you because I like to eat this one also. It's a kind of we call arenga palm trees, which produce a seed that in the north we call tao. In central Thai they call luchin. It's the same thing. Of course, they good to eat and to sell also. So I talk about food for rights, because conserving this kind of arenga palm tree as a local right to development, because what they earn from these palm seeds is more than what they can earn from those vegetable farming or whatever, and they don't have to do anything except protecting their forest. Conserving forest doesn't mean keep it there, but it means making more money, generate more income as well. So this is a kind of local rights to development. So food for rights is also concerning about protecting their livelihood and also the right to development. So I see here that eating is about negotiating for rights in community forestry. And here we can see the north, a lot of, not just the Korean but also the Hmong, and here but mostly I got pictures of the Hmong. And here you can see the collecting food in Korean community forest. So eating somehow is also about resource tenure rights, because this is what they're asking their rights in the community forest. So rights have to be situated in the local knowledge for food security. And here I show the photo of the Hmong lady healers. They are looking not just for food, but also medicinal plants in their forest garden. So, this is contrary to most people understanding of the Highlanders. They think that the Highlanders, what they're good for is only cutting down forests and doing shifting cultivation. But in fact, they also have their forest garden. It doesn't mean that in the forest have something. The forest garden and forest garden is very difficult for them, for not only for food security, but also for livelihood. This is about medicinal plants. So I think we have to look at food for identity and citizenship as well, because what the Hmong try to do in their conservation, in fact, is their discourse is for forest conservation. In their negotiation for citizenship, because many of them has no Thai citizenship yet. So you can see that from food, we can link to identity, knowledge, livelihood, as well as citizenship. So this is the thing that I think I learned a lot, through my tasting of local food. Okay, that's enough for the Thailanders. Because I have been traveling many places in Southeast Asia, so I would just like to share with you also with my experience in the country. So, but I don't have much time, so I just select another place, and this is where I would like to show you, because recently I just visited Cambodia. So I think eating and producing sugar, of course, it's not always sweet, because this is the topic that famous anthropologists like Sidney Mintz, in '85, he wrote a famous book on sweetness, sugar cane, and power. But he referred to consuming modernity. But for me, when I take a same look at the palm sugar in Cambodia, I think for palm sugar in Cambodia, sweet yes, but not power for rural people. Why? Because local sugar production, it seems to be something as a struggle for their national security, and local sugar consumption also as identity and food security. So living with sugar palm under threat of enclosure, and this is a common scenery in rural Cambodia. That day I was surprised. I've seen a lot of these sugar palm, along the way when I travel everywhere in rural Cambodia. That night, when I sleep, I dream that tomorrow if someone climbs the palm tree, I'm going to take this photo and show it to someone. And luckily, that day, I don't know why, somebody just climbed up the tree, and just, allow me to take this photo. So I haven't thought about it. That's why I come to this talk. I would like to show, just out of my dream, that I would like to see someone climb the palm tree. Because I visited one of my students doing research on enclosure of farmland in Cambodia. As you know, in Cambodia they don't get settled about land certificate or anything like that. So anything can happen everywhere. And this is one of the cases in the nearby land, whereby the government gives concession to a big company to use large tract of land, for, this is the kind of market-driven food production. They have this cattle raising in a huge pack of land, But I don't know whether this is a really alternative land use or not. So, for the people who are using the land there, they don't have any kind of tenure security. So, producing palm sugar maybe is one thing they can do for securing their farmland. So, keep on producing palm sugar the same old way, with the same old sweetness. You can see they are everywhere. So, I think sweetness can be linked to the struggle for farmland. So I have been talking, this is one of my students who doing research in that area. But we always have to wonder, how long will they last? This kind of struggle. But anyway, with local struggle, I think there is no sunset yet for sugar palm and sweet palm sugar. So I think in this short remarks, I would like to conclude that eating in socio-cultural context is not only about enjoying local taste, which of course I always enjoy, but also about learning the complexity and contradictions of social life. But here in my PowerPoint, I forgot the last remarks. Sorry about that. Maybe a little sleepy preparing this PowerPoint. I think for local people, eating in social cultural context is different. This is for me, as an artist visiting many places. But for local people, it is about their identity, rights, knowledge, and of course, most important, securing their livelihood. And that is my thought for this morning. Thank you.
Dr. Nan would like to entertain our audience with if you have any questions, any comments, suggestions about this talk. This is the time, the floor is now open for discussion. Any observation about his lecture this morning? If not, then thank you very much, Dr. Anand, for a very interesting and stimulating talk. Dr. Anand has raised a very interesting question, controversial questions about the rights to food, food for rights, food for identity, and citizenship for the Highlanders. And please give him a big applause. The second speaker of the plenary session is Professor Dr. Penny Van Esterick. She is currently a professor of the Department of Anthropology, York University, the United Kingdom. Canada. Sorry. As for her educational background, Professor Penny Van Esterick received her BA in Anthropology from the University of Toronto, Canada, MA from University of Illinois, USA, and PhD also from University of Illinois. As for her research interests, Professor Van Esterick has done most of her research in Southeast Asia, especially in Thailand, Laos, and Indonesia, with additional projects in Kenya, Cambodia, United States, and Canada. Currently, she is examining questions around food and globalization in Laos and elsewhere. In addition, she has long-standing interest in anthropological approaches to advocacy communication, particularly around risk and infant feeding. Past research and publications concerned infant feeding among urban poor in developing countries, Theravada Buddhism in Southeast Asia and North America, nutritional and anthropology, gender and development, as well as maternal and child health. Today, Professor Penny Van Esterick will give us a talk on authenticity and identity in Thai cuisine, thinking outside the box. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Dr. Penny Van Esterick.
Thank you for the opportunity to present at this conference. I have been asked today to reflect on food and identity from a foreigner's perspective, an outsider who's come to Thailand and come to Thai cuisine after already being socialized to a British-derived Canadian cuisine, and I use the term cuisine very loosely. Here. I bring an insider-outsider tension to this discussion, and this insider-outsider tension is very common to anthropologists, as we heard from Dr. Anand's presentation. We often develop this double perspective as we have spent years trying to learn from and about others, and for me, the others that I have learned about have been from rural and central Thailand. Perhaps I'll sit down for the moment. Now, I came to food studies from very different kinds of research. I studied ancient pottery, I studied questions about gender and Buddhism. I worked in medical anthropology with a strong interest in work on young child feeding. And And my friends said, you know, I'm very broad-based and holistic. Other people say I'm all over the map, you know, I'm in too many subjects. But in the 1970s, a field called nutritional anthropology developed out of medical anthropology. And to me, it was